Well, hello there. Oh, Mr. Lurberton. Coming to your town to play basketball with the Harlem Globetrotters. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, Mr. Lurberton. That's what they call me. I'm down at Harlem Globetrotters headquarters, where I live on my off hours. Of course, needless to say. Today's question: will Katy Perry birth a half elf? Excellent question, Eric. Excellent, excellent question. You're really making sense now. The answer is yeah, probably. I mean, what else do you think is going to happen if Legolas mates with a human? Half elf. What? What are the advantages of making my character a half elf? Well, you have kind of a lower constitution than, say, a full human, but you can shoot arrows better. You got pointier ears. You're really, stylish. You got, you're immortal. Except for the death part. Hey, Alex. Sup. Sup to you as well. Sup? The sky? It's classic. That's a classic joke. I don't know. You can look up as easily as I can. Would be another variant on that. Anyhow, I want you to know that Orlando Bloom has impregnated Katy Perry. And somebody's got to do something about this. I explicitly said to Orlando Bloom, no impregnating Katy Perry. What does he go right out and do? Impregnate Katy Perry. It's like, Katy Perry, what happened to kissing a girl and liking it? Instead, you got impregnated by Orlando Bloom. No, we're supposed to dance until we die. I got pregnant from Orlando Bloom. Do you think your kid's going to have an easy time of it being a half elf? I don't think so. You might think it sounds cool now, but it's like naming your kid Tomato. You're going to regret it later on when you come to your senses. Don't name your kid Tomato. It's a dumb name. Don't name your kid Tomato is a good title for a live stream as well. Also, don't name your kid Orlando. California girls are unbelievable. I couldn't sleep tonight. I don't know, I had a good day. Recently I watched a couple of James Bond movies. We watched Casino Royale and we watched Quantum something. I forget what the other one was called. But both of them had Daniel Craig in them as the James Bond. And, you may not have heard this expression before because I just made it up tonight, but I think it's fair to say that Daniel Craig is the Daniel Day-Lewis of James Bond movies. Is that too outrageous a claim? Good morning, Zaylen Black. Daniel Craig is the Daniel Day-Lewis of James Bond movies. Daniel Day-Lewis is the Daniel Craig of My Left Foot. Combine the two, you've got the world's first physically immobile secret agent. Basically immobile. He does all of his spy work with his left foot. when Daniel Day-Lewis takes on the role of James Bond in the next film, he's going to do all the spy work with his left foot. It's going to be quite a challenge. He's going to be like, all the bad guys are going to be like, damn, I thought we were going to get this guy, no problem. All he has is one left foot and he still kicks all of our asses? I hope you've all renewed your subscriptions to Marie Curie magazine. If you haven't, now's your time. Now's your chance. Well, Rachel and I were discussing James Bond a little bit this evening. You know that Rachel's never seen a Sean Connery James Bond movie. I thought that was interesting. She likes Roger Moore. I don't mind Roger Moore. Roger Moore's cool. But I like the new James Bond movies more, where they're more like in the era of modern action films. Although I will say the second one that we watched, the Quantum whatever it was called, that one was a little jump cutty, which reminded me, and Rachel and I watched it and laughed about it, reminded me of the Taken 3 fence jump over scene, which is possibly one of history's examples of, it's possibly an example of some of the worst filmmaking in history. When you watch Liam Neeson jump over that fence and in like 5 seconds it's got 6 jump cuts in it, then no. All you can say to that is, come on now. Come on now. Is what you're going to be saying about that. That's just silly. Well, Quantum whatever got a little bit like that with the jump cuts. I like the previous director a little bit better, I think. Smoothness. I just leave a little green down at the bottom, whatever. This part, wherever that is, right over here. Right there. Oh, I see a little bit of shadow or something. Well, here, let me flatten it out for you. I'm going to flatten. I'm going to become Flat Stanley. You're familiar with the story Flat Stanley? I like Daniel Craig. I think he's good. I think Pierce Brosnan was oddly sort of just made for the role. If anybody was born to be James Bond, it was Pierce Brosnan. But, he was it for a while. Flat Stanley is a kid's book about a child named Flat Stanley who was very flat. And I don't remember the details of it, but somehow his flatness saves the day. It's one of those classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of stories where what first seems to be a deficit or a handicap turns out to be what saves the day, and everyone learns their lesson about how it's okay to be flat after all. If I remember correctly. Something like that. I could Google it. We could Google Flat Stanley together and see what we see. Okay. Let's Google Flat Stanley together. All I need to do is meow the meow. There we go. And we'll meow the meow. Then we're going to meow the meow. Flat Stanley. F-L-A-T. Stanley. There he is. Flat Stanley, book by Jeff Brown. People also ask, what is the point of Flat Stanley? Is Flat Stanley dead? Is Flat Stanley real? What is the point of Flat Stanley? The project features paper cutouts based on the title character of the 1964 children's book, Flat Stanley. Is Flat Stanley dead? Jeff Brown, who created Flat Stanley, died in 2003. Is Flat Stanley real? In the story, Stanley Lambchop is flattened by a bulletin board, but he makes the most of his new physique. What grade level is Flat Stanley? Well, that's not telling you what grade Flat Stanley's in. It tells you what grade the reading book is. How does Flat Stanley get back to normal? One night when Stanley is really down on himself, his little brother gets an idea on how to get Stanley back to normal. He grabs an air pump. And that's how he turns back to normal, I guess. What are you supposed to do with Flat Stanley? How thick is Flat Stanley? A half an inch thick. He's now 4 foot tall, 1 foot wide, and a half an inch thick. Wow, that's thin. The Flat Stanley Project. Well, now we know. Together we've learned. Now we know. Why, that looks like an interesting PDF, Epic. Yeah, I was reading this one earlier. It was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I guess if you're into that sort of boring shit, you know, like that. Sure, that makes sense. Window capture. Down. There. Okay, now we're back and better than ever. Here we go. You can get Flat Stanley as Pete Seeger did. Kids, if you keep your sense of humor and reach out to all the other kids in all the world and get them to reach out to you in their own way, there may be a human race here in another 100 years. Pete Seeger written to Dale Hubert on the back of his Flat Stanley. Huh. Well, I'm pretty flat as it is. I'm not a particularly thick Eric, although I'm more than half an inch thick. That's very flat. Good old Flat Stanley. Once I named a reference that's, you know, a book written, a children's book written in the 60s that I knew about, and Winston's mom had never heard of it. It's unusual. Usually my old references you get on Winston's mom. No, I think that I'm given a little bit of a reprieve here. My dad's birthday is tomorrow. Bert's and I are gonna get him a cake and stuff. I feel as though things are moving a bit. This green screen made a big difference. Mrs. Mom, let me just say that. Thank you again for getting it for me. Uh, it's odd what a big difference it makes having a background versus just my shelves. But it does. It also makes me. That's Hambone. Rachel and I went up to visit Hambone in Washington State, and that's a picture we took up there. Well, this is the thing. All about Gal and Brian. I'm not convinced at all that those slab things are warnings per se. They're more like it's the sound of slabs grinding together in some way, as slabs always do. But it's like the sound of two uh, two sides of a fault line cracking loose after rubbing against each other and stuff. It's I don't there's no indication whether it links to me directly, whether it's good or bad even. Just as something significant going on in the world of slabs. What's up with the topic? Well, I don't know if you know this, Zayden Black, but Katy Perry is heavily gravid with Orlando's Bloom's half-elf child. And I thought I would take a stand opposing interspecies mating. Elves should not mate with humans. Their offspring, though half-elf, will not be reproductively viable. And that's not fair to the offspring. So I'm standing up against Katy Perry bearing a half-elf child because you are denying your child the opportunity to reproduce. Well, I mean, I guess you don't want to get somebody pregnant. Like if you have a half-elf daughter and you don't ever have to worry about getting pregnant, but you also don't ever have to worry about getting pregnant. Half-elf son, they're gonna be shooting blanks their whole life. I guess that's an advantage in some way, but I would say it also means they're more likely to come down with a venereal disease. So, there'll be only one reason then to use contraception, and that's a less powerful reason to use it for most people than avoiding pregnancy. Anyway, I believed for a long time that Katy Perry was already committed to dancing until she died with her last man, namely Russell Brand. Instead, she ceased dancing well before she died, broke up with Russell Brand, and started going out with Orlando Bloom. Only for the purpose of creating this monstrosity of a creature, home in neither species, mateable by both, but impregnable / impregnateable. No. It's called the deepest, truest tragedy that ever tragicted the tragedy. That's the best way to put it, I think. That's a good boner. I like that one. Oh, it's settled in my head like metal in your bed. Oh, yeah. Hey, King Christian Summer Pagoo. Winston's mom work did go well today. I made good progress with my student on our affirmation for compulsory voting, which, interestingly, I'm having him run a civility case. I've never used that as a value before, but civility is a value, and I guess it's increasing psychological ownership is the VC, perhaps. Anyway, value criterion. Um, so it links very much to my experience here and to my thoughts about the world and the ways in which I need to be more like I. Ooh, what'd you say, Zaylen Black? Um, I really do believe that ultimately the key to saving the world lies in changing the way the world talks about solvency, about problems, about ownership, about all kinds of things. So you tried to link to Reddit, huh? I guess YouTube doesn't like that. So I think that ultimately the ability to maintain civil discourse among people who disagree with each other is the critical consideration in whether or not a democracy produces a healthy civil society. So, yes, they are, Zaylen Black. Yes, they are. Because here's how we know half-elves are necessarily barren. Because they are a different species than humans, elves are. Which means that they're not, when you mate them together, even if they produce an offspring, it's not reproductively viable. That's my point. It's not fair to Katy Perry's baby. She's going to be like a mule or a donkey, whichever one is the half-breed thing. What's a horse plus a what is a what? Is it a horse plus a donkey is a mule, or a horse plus a mule is a donkey? Which way does it go? I don't remember. And then how does an ass fit in there? That fits in there somewhere too. A biblical ass. No. You misunderstood me. When I said I tapped that ass, I was referring to a biblical ass. I was driving mules, down the trail with my stick. I tap them and encourage them to move along. You totally misinterpreted me. What do you call that? What I was doing then? Why wouldn't call it tapping that ass? What would you call it? Poking your donkey? That sounds sexual. I wouldn't call it that. I can't believe it. I asked Stuart what he was doing earlier. He said he was tapping that ass. He's not going to be so brazen about it. He did it right to my face. He acted confused. So then I just told her I was tapping that ass, and she got all weirded out. I don't know what happened. Wait. You told her you were tapping that ass? Yeah. Weren't you taking the mules down to the camp? Yeah. Obviously. Tapping them all along the way. Okay, so there was probably a misunderstanding here between you and the girl. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't know. I told her I was ass fucking donkeys too, and she got upset about that for some reason. What did you mean by that? You know, sodomizing donkeys? Hilarious. Hilarious. I like that show, Cheap Seats. That's where I got that hilarious from. Hilarious. No one ever answers my which one's half a horse question. Is it a donkey or a mule? I think it's a mule. A mule is half a horse, right? Mule. Mule is half a horse. Donkey is its own species. So, look. Here's what we can conclude. Since Katy Perry is giving breed to a half-elf, and the half-elf is the mule of human offspring, and mule refers to somebody who smuggles drugs across borders, Katy Perry is clearly giving birth to a child she intends to use as a drug smuggler. And I say it's about time we all condemn her for it. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Boo, Katy Perry. We know what you're planning. You're planning to use your newborn infant half-elf, non-reproductively viable offspring to smuggle drugs from Bolivia back into the United States so that you can give them to Russell Brand as part of your divorce settlement. I figured out your conspiracy. Ligers. Well, I mean, you could say that they're the liger of human offsprings, but I think more correct is the mule. Katy Perry was always looking for a way to smuggle drugs from Bolivia that wouldn't elicit quite as much suspicion as her alternative, which was carrying them in a bag that said drugs on it. She kept getting searched. That's the problem. Then she tried putting on the bag, "No drugs in here!" Exclamation point. Didn't work. That's when she came up with her plan to mate with Orlando Bloom. What kind of drugs, you say? Well, ayahuasca. She's a real ayahuasca fanatic. She's just got like a $500 a day ayahuasca habit. Plus, she's taking up chewing raw coca leaves like the Colombian natives. An odd woman, Katy Perry. Odd indeed. Some people think that Russell Brand infected her with ENFP when he was with her, and she's never quite gotten over it. It's possible. Don't make your child a liger. Don't make your child a mule. Your child will not very much like you. Your child won't think that you're cool. Remember that old poem before you try to mate with an elf. Or a dwarf, for that matter. Or a gnome. Or even potentially a hobbit. Can people mate with hobbits? Probably. Is it a common fetish? Hobbit humping? I don't know. Is it? I wonder if that's common that men want to request small women to don large hairy feet and pretend to be hobbits. Well, the man himself dresses as Gandalf, and as he's pounding away at her, screams, "Thou shalt not pass. You shall not pass." He's got a staff there. You will not pass. You will not pass. Okay, I'm not passing. Yeah. Oh. Did I accidentally reveal my fantasy? Uh-oh. No, that's not my fantasy. My fantasy has nothing to do with hobbits. Okay. Nothing at all. It has to do with the Ents. What you call a real tree lover. Okay. Nothing turns me on like the thought of a living tree reaching down and caressing me with its branches. Yes, I did, Crimson King. Yes, I did. And today we're discussing why it's such a travesty that Katy Perry is deciding to do this. See, the first thing we have to understand, Crimson King, is that their child will be not reproductively viable, like a mule or a liger. Why? Because elves and humans are different species. If you're gonna hump Legolas, make him put a cap on that Jimmy, you know? Come on, Katy Perry. You think your child's not gonna be teased? Yeah, he is. Yeah, she is. It's like in the elementary school playground, if she's a girl, all the other children are going to gather around in a circle around her, point and taunt. Sterile, sterile, you can't have children. Which is really amazingly cruel for elementary school students, but trust me, I've been there. I've done that. I've gone with a group of people to taunt on several half hobbits and a couple of half orcs. You see, that's kind of an ugly moment when you have to think about how a human mated with an orc to make that half orc, because orcs aren't very appealing, frankly. I'd say they're contra appealing. You should have a +1 racial bonus on listen, search, and spot checks. +2 racial bonus on diplomacy and gather information checks. Oh, cool. Well, I mean, they also have +1 in ear pointiness. And +2 in shooting arrows while sliding down banisters. Which is nice. It's pretty good. But as I was explaining before you got here, Mount Host Mark, given what we know, the only logical conclusion is that Katy Perry is part of a plan to give birth to a drug mule that she will utilize as a small child to successfully facilitate her ayahuasca transfers from Bolivia. Because, little known fact, she's got a $500 a day ayahuasca habit. Was her ex Russell Brand? Yes, Russell Brand is an ENFP. I could change the picture, we don't have to have ham bone. We could have Ocean Show. Oh, yeah. That is absolutely lovely. It's like a tropical breeze on my face. I love it. It's wonderful. Russell Brand. There's something about him, I just want to go up to him and say, "Hey! Come here. Stop it. You stop it right now. You stop your Russell Brandy nonsense, Russell Brand. None of us are going to take any more of your bullshit. Your bullshit politics. Russell Brand, Schmushel Schmrand. It's frustrating. You know, people who are incredibly wrong and determined to stay that way. Yeah. I think that's the best descriptor for Russell Brand. Incredibly wrong and determined to stay that way. Let me get a cigarette. What I'm going to do for you right now, I'm going to go ahead and smoke this cigarette with my lungs for the good of humanity. And you guys are all the unintended beneficiaries. Yeah, well, I guess that's the part of him I don't like, is his guru-iness. You know, the insane presumption of an FI tool user that they have understandings that are useful to other people when it comes to general matters of concern is both frightening and offensive. You know, it's like, no, dude, no. Just STFU. Seriously, you got no business talking about anything. You're just talking out your ass with your FI and your NE, and you're ignoring NI, and no. No. Your FE is offensive to me with its 6-slot demonstrativeness, and convinced that, you know, you've got the sort of upper hand intellectually on the other people around you in some sense, or have a clearer understanding than they do, when you don't at all. It's appalling. It's just like, no, dude, no. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, getting everything wrong, spewing it passionately, not listening, of course. That's the thing. Not listening. Like, if I were to make a video on Russell Brand, I would find a video of his and respond to it or something, right? I'd listen to what he said, and I'd articulate responses that were specific to it, that successfully critiqued what he said and why it's wrong and stuff like that, right? It requires first that you listen. And this is the thing, is with FI as a tool function, you don't necessarily listen at all. You know, to the extent that you hear with the purpose of either determining that it's consistent with what you want or not, you know? There's only one guru anybody needs, and that's Rick Benson. Bone Coach. Once again, if you missed last announcement in the live stream, I, Rick Benson, am holding my annual Bone Symposium this year. COVID be damned, you know. So, ladies, look. There is an application process here, alright? You don't automatically get into the Bone Symposium. Please send pictures. Ideally nudes. if you want to learn to bone, you're gonna have to go to the gym. Let's say, stay fit. Rick Benson doesn't want to coach you how to bone. He doesn't want to bone you. So I'm not saying you gotta be like supermodel. I'm just saying, ladies, go to the gym, go on a diet before you make it to the Bone Symposium this year. Again, it's October 12th through the 16th, 4 days of straight, non-stop boning. If you feel as though you aren't sure if you're getting boned properly, sign up for the Bone Symposium, get the bone, find out what it's really like when a man goes not only balls deep, but LOTR style, helms deep. Okay? You aren't going to get professional bonage from a real bone coach, 3 years winning the Bone Coach of the Year award, like me, Rick Benson, anywhere else. So, again, lady, time's running out. Book your slot today at Rick Benson's Bone Symposium. Well, not host Mark. Would it be easy for me to type somebody based on their writing? I mean, I feel more comfortable typing people based on their work product a lot of times than I do on, say, interviews or footage of them. At least their work product I see as indicative of me editing, yeah. NFC SP cards. I don't know what those are. But the thing is, I don't know how reliable that is as a way to type somebody. I feel as though I can listen to, for example, if I listen to a few songs of a band, I feel as though I have a good idea what type they are. The main artist behind it. Or I can also tell by listening to it if it's one of those kind of bands that's sort of written by committee. Yeah, sure. How much writing would I need? Well, not necessarily a ton. How would I type David Byrne? Well, INTP, I think. Based on his work product. I type Eminem, ENTP, based on his work product. I type, what's his name? Nirvana guy. Kurt Cobain as INFJ, based on his work product. But the thing I want to reiterate, Mark, is that I don't know how reliable these typings are. I don't have any way usually of confirming, or particularly any interest in confirming or falsifying them. It's just sort of speculation, I guess. But, I mean, like you read the liner notes written by Donald Fagen on one of the Steely Dan albums, and you will realize almost immediately that he's got to be an INTP. He has to be. It's the most ridiculous verbosity you've ever encountered. So yeah, writing's a pretty good way. In fact, it's like if you put a bunch of ESFP writing in front of me, I can usually identify that as well. It's got a unique quality of NI fourth that pairs with FI that makes it like constantly mistaking ill-conceived bits of mysticism for real intuitive wisdom, Are you talking about something you wrote? Mark, I already told you, if you want me to type you, I'll type you. I don't need to type you from reading something you wrote. I already know you write like an HP. I've read your shit before. I know what you write like. I can read you right here. You write like an INTP. I mean, you could argue INTP. No, I'm less clear on INTJ. INTJ is, I mean, look. NTP voice is pretty easy for me to identify. Maybe because it links so closely to my own voice or something like that. But, yeah, but considering you have both knowledge of interactions with me and you'd have my writing, it might afford a bit more certitude. It's like it's a carefully crafted sentence there, right? Maybe you'd be more sure if you looked at my writing. Maybe more of an NI way of putting it, right? But of course, Mark's gotta give it that kind of prep school feel with afford a bit more certitude, you know. Blue says that they love me. Well, thanks, Blue. I love you too. I don't know who you are, but I'm sure I love you too. I appreciate you being here anyway, and I do feel a lot of affection towards random people in the world that I barely know. I feel a lot of warmth towards them because, they comprise the the other important part of my life. I'm getting into the other important part of my life now, which I've never really gotten into like I have since I've been with Rachel, which is chilling, I'm really enjoying chilling. Rachel and I worked on a video today, and I'll probably do some editing on that and stuff, but the key thing is, every day we go, well, let's see, what's a good movie we want to watch we haven't seen before? Maybe sometimes one of us has seen it before, but by and large we haven't seen it before. And I greatly enjoy that. I spent years not really watching movies, talking about movies, thinking about movies, interested in movies, just making stuff, and occasionally I'd watch TV or watch sports or something, Since I've been with Rachel, I've watched a ton of feature films and have really been enjoying analyzing them as I watch them, thinking about, what works, what doesn't, and the various storylines and the other aspects of movie making in general. What's in my work schedule this week? I don't know. I need to check my email. Probably have Jeffrey at some point again this week. He might already be on the schedule. I worked with him for a couple hours today. Google Calendar. I don't know if I really have anything on the schedule. See, I was supposed to be in Palm Desert this upcoming week, but we're not going to go because it's too hot. No, I don't really have anything on the schedule. I should check my email, though. I'll make another, I'll edit and upload that cognitive function video, and that'll probably get another couple of typing sessions, I see NI like FI, they know the correctness of things and don't really want to explain it. Well, it depends what it's paired with. NI paired with FI is like that. But then you're talking about ENTJ, INTJ. NI paired with TI is a little different, though. Why should we not care what others think of us? Should we to an extent? Sure, we should to an extent if we're FE users. I mean, that notion that we should not care what others think of us, or that stop caring what other people think so much, is an FI bias being imposed on FE users by FI users. And it's generally not true. It might be contextually true, but so might contextually true be the opposite, that hey, you need to care more about what others think and not so much about what you personally feel. The difference between FI users and FE users think of there being a fundamental importance to being a team player, whereas FI users think it's fundamentally important to be true to yourself and not yield so much of yourself, so much ground of yourself to the group in that fashion. Neither is correct or incorrect, but that notion is one of these sort of aphorisms of FI that has been imposed on everybody by a failure to recognize cognitive functions for what they are, and these sort of aphorisms as demonstrations of a function bias. So Tom Jickelson says, only care what they think if they can serve you in some way. Well, that's very utilitarian of you. I would argue that I care what people think because it helps to keep me in check. I'm FI polar, so I don't have a super clear understanding necessarily, or I don't spend a lot of time paying attention to what's precious to me in the particular. I spend a lot more time talking about what's important to me as a principle, as a general principle, or something like that. And the FE thing is somewhat how I get to learn the normal constraints of FI indirectly. So I might not put myself in another person's shoes and consider how they're going to feel when I am very harsh towards them, but I'll hear about it from other people as being mean or being a bully, and I'll try to adjust my behavior accordingly. Because, being FI polar doesn't mean you're a bad person, and doesn't mean you don't care about people's feelings, but it might very well mean that you don't think about that until it's pointed out some. Fierce and feisty. Fierce and feisty is a great name for like a talk show, with two women hosts, one named Fierce and one named Feisty. I'm usually pretty good at backtracking the motivations of people. Well, certainly, you are willing to hold and maintain divergent positions, or positions divergent from the norm. So since functions are a preference, they're not a preference. We should be considerate of people's opinions to keep us reined in, but also live our own lives. Don't take it from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. No, I don't think functions are a preference. I think functions are habits of an attentional manner. So, depending on your type, you will habitually attend via certain channels of attention in certain ways, and they'll be related to each other in concrete mechanical ways. For example, two functions might be quote-unquote inversely proportional. Remembering that there's a concrete number of hours in the day, or finite number of hours in the day, and that some attentions are exclusive of other attentions, it's probably best to think of attentional manners as measuring in hours. So as to whether or not we should be considerate of other people's opinions, keep us reined in, blah blah blah. It depends what slot your FE is in. So if you're an extroverted feeler in the dominant slot, you're very much going to care about other people's opinions in almost every circumstance, and it's going to be hard for you to conceive of a correct world in which somebody wasn't concerned with how their behavior, words, thoughts, whatever, were impacting everybody. If you're FE fourth slot, for example, you're likely to think that it's a bit of an imposition, that you'd like to not have to deal with it at all, that you're constantly having to, you're constantly sort of falling short in presenting things to in ways to people that are successful in terms of making them feel comfortable or happy with the idea rather than just proving it to be correct. Um, so it depends where it is. What is your view on willpower? Well, I would say that willpower is um, it's a complicated question. I think by and large, most people who expect a lot of willpower of themselves that they don't possess and or display consistently are simply have simply internalized other people's expectations that have been put upon them in ways that probably aren't very healthy. But willpower plays a role in the sense that you have to accept and understand that certain things that may be important to you require sustained long-term effort, and certain things that may be important to you require no effort, etc. Right? If you are liberated in the sense that you don't have a lot of responsibilities occupying a lot of your time, you have a lot of free choice about your time, as I currently am, and I haven't always been by any stretch of the imagination, but I am now, and then the issue of willpower becomes more properly understood, I think, which is to what extent am I well served by viewing myself as optimally realized when I am compelling myself to do less comfortable things, and to what extent am I most properly optimized when I'm attaining a genuine comfort. Now, for me, genuine comfort is not always indulging in sloth and comfort. It necessitates me being happy some of the time with some of the things I make, and feeling like, okay, that was success. So it would be incorrect to say that prioritizing for me what's comfortable at the moment means not being productive. So in that sense, the willpower question may be missing the point to some extent. The most important thing is knowing what you genuinely want, right? If you know what you genuinely want, then you have a good sense of at least where you're being successful in your efforts, or where you're falling behind in your efforts or something. But that may just be my own bias as an FI polar person, because that's the area that's difficult for me. I'm feeling pukey right now. You're going to have to give me a moment to settle my stomach. got a piece of bread. This should help a little bit. No, I'm fine. It's just, I got that coffee and cigarette pukiness. I did eat well today. That's when I had these delicious steaks for dinner. And we had Jack in the Box breakfast sandwiches for lunch. So I'm fine. It's just a little momentary nausea. I'm a little sleepy. That's true. Willpower could be said as the impetus for the self-directed movement of the soul towards good. Well, I mean, not necessarily towards the good, though, right? The thing about willpower is, in Alcoholics Anonymous, they argue that you ought to try to replace your own will with God's will as central or something, right? So, I don't know how to exactly parse out the TI of this whole thing, but I tend to think that when I'm being willful and needing willpower, and to a certain extent, I'm probably not going with the path of least resistance. Now, you might say the path of least resistance is not a good path to go. For me, it depends on what kind of thing we're talking about. So, like, the path of least resistance for me a lot of times means not engaging with something that makes me mad or triggers me or whatever. Like I read a comment today on the ENTP video about C.S. Joseph, C.S. Joseph and ENTP. And it was, just a dumb comment. I didn't like it. But I didn't really respond to it. So in that regard, would that be considered willpower? Well, it's self-restraint of some sort. Is it considered willpower that I don't drink alcohol? Well, it requires an ongoing, I guess, commitment to the idea that that's not acceptable to you anymore. But it's a complicated question, in my opinion. As humans, we naturally incline towards the path of least resistance. Willpower forces us to alter our choices and actions to go against that grain. I mean, the thing is, I don't think people generally default to the path of least resistance at all. I think people generally default to paths of a great deal of resistance. But it depends how you define that. So, in the one sense, the path of least resistance may be an unprincipled path that says, just go along with what everybody else wants and don't prioritize your own interests at all. Well, I think if you were to attempt to do that, you'd find that it's not a sustainable strategy because you have the mule problem, where you got the boy and the old man and the mule. And you can't please everybody, right? First, the old man gets on the mule, and someone says, "Hey, boy, why are you making the old man? Why are you making the boy?" I say, "Hey, old man, why are you making the boy walk? You should walk. The boy should ride." And then the next person says, "Hey, boy, why are you making the old man walk? You should walk, and the old man should ride." And then the next person says, "Hey, why are either of you walking? Why don't you both ride the mule?" And then the next person says, "Hey, why are you both riding that poor old mule? Why don't you guys walk and let the mule just walk?" So there's that element too, right? It's like the path of least resistance, quote unquote, for me, involves some magical thinking, which is to say that the reason I think the path of least resistance is the best choice is because it means I'm not trying to impose my understanding of what it ought to be upon it, but rather accepting it for what it is, whatever it is. It's kind of a relationship with NI though. So it's like, is this universalizable to other people? I'm not sure. With my NI ignoring, accepting the primacy of NI is a way of sort of circumventing the negative impacts of that ignoring. Does that mean it's an appropriate approach for other types? I don't know. I'm not sure. I try not to generalize advice beyond my own type. I feel comfortable giving advice to other ENTPs. But of course, I rarely have ENTPs ever ask me for any advice. We can form habits where difficult things become a less resistant path for us. Well, I mean, remembering this about difficult things. The thing about this sort of notion that doing difficult things is preferable or desirable, or that we've lost some strength of will that in some previous incarnation of humanity or in some idealized incarnation of ourselves we would have and thereby attain great things. One thing to remember is you have a finite number of hours, and the more difficult a thing it is you're trying to do, the more of your totality of your life it consumes. So if I'm writing a novel, that's a great thing to do, but it means I have to set aside every other project while I'm doing that for a couple of months until it's done. Is that, on balance, a preferable thing to complete than something else that would take less time, or multiple things that would take less time? That's a tricky question to answer. And that's where this whole willpower question becomes rather convoluted and difficult to speak. It becomes difficult to speak positively of the matter of willpower. What do I think of Mark's comment? Scroll up. If it is movement not directed towards the good, the soul is in bondage and is not free. There's no willpower there. There's a lack of willpower. I see. Well, I mean, that those words appeal to me. However, they make your argument circular. If in fact freedom is a prerequisite to willpower, and anything wicked is not an example of freedom, and therefore not an example of a person executing their will. I mean, the problem with this is probably the best way to interpret that is to say they are in fact executing their will and not God's. The fact that they are clouded by some wickedness does not mean they're not freely making choices. I'm not sure I buy that whole line of argumentation there. Just because you are in darkness, so to speak, doesn't mean that we can assume you're not acting freely. I kind of understand your point too, Mark, though. The only way to cause major change through willpower, and you can't follow the path of least resistance. Well, I mean, the thing is this, Cloud. Like, generally, when people use the word willpower, they talk about um, willfully doing things. But the other half of it is willpower that willfully doesn't do things. So when I quit drinking, you might say it took a lot of willpower to quit drinking, quote unquote. Would you be correct? Um, I mean, I would say it took something different than willpower for me. Willpower correlates pretty strongly with SE follow through. And as far as I can tell, it required for me a lot more TI work than anything else. Um, I had to build up a lot of TI walls, TI and SI work. Okay, TI walls um, to block off any possible way that I could talk myself out of what I knew. And in other words, get ahead of my NETI so that I couldn't fool myself. Put up all the different narrative blocks I needed to. That was what was most important for me. Now, part of that process, additionally, was setting the table for directing my energies towards it, which required me to humble myself. Which is to say, I had to go in there and say, I don't know. I'm going to behave as though I don't know, and I'm going to learn and apply what I am told uh, rather than try to figure it out myself. So in that sense, it was surrender based and not willpower based. I mean, so was there resistance in the self to not drinking? Yes, there was resistance to that. Aspects of myself wanted still to drink alcohol, and probably still do. I mean, not even probably, definitely. There are aspects of myself, or a better way to put it is, there are moments when it sounds appealing to me still. Um, so is it taking an ongoing application of willpower? Well, I would argue no. It requires a a periodic reinforcing of the narrative blocks that I have in place about that. So most people understand willpower though as more in the realm of follow through of an SE sort, namely sticking with a given thing and overcoming all the challenges and seeing through to fruition and gaining the win or something. Well, that's a good idea for people who, for example, NI third, NI fourth, probably, if they can get a hold of somebody else, provide some good NI, because they're not going to have so many good ideas, basically. It's a little bit more challenging for an EHP. Mistyping used an INFJ or an INTP wouldn't do a whole lot of damage. At least I wouldn't think so. I've mistyped myself as both those for some time. Willpower is not about SE, NI, ESTJ are all about willpower. Well, I would say that they have demonstrative SE, which means they've got pretty good follow through. In some sense, better than an SE Dom's follow through because the SE Dom is more opportunistic. But are the ESTJs all about willpower? I mean, I've never heard anything like that from my ESTJ dad about willpower specifically. He's more of a TE thing, like TESI, like police your area. This is not a willpower thing. It's more of a TE thing for sure. TESI, it's about do things smart. Follow through, do things smart. Definitely not a willpower thing for ESTJs in general. I mean, there might be some exceptions. But by and large, they view everything through a purpose frame. And willpower is not understood as good TE, basically. It requires a lot of willpower. This is a bad route to take, you know? They kind of run afoul of each other. FI is my inner child who never quite grows up. FI is always late to the party after NI and TE go all rational. Later, my FI appears to debate my conscience about how I feel. FI for me is the thing that feels guilty about not finding more successful ways of, I guess, bonding with my father. Something that stresses me out, even though I make efforts time and time again. It doesn't matter what I suggest, when I suggest it. If if it's not his idea, he nixes it. Do you want to watch Ghostbusters with us tonight? Oh, no. I came in with dinner for me and Rachel to eat with them yesterday, I think it was, at 6 when he normally eats. And he's like, I've already eaten. Okay, I guess we'll eat outside. He's... But then, at other times I see him, like, not quite sure how to get FI that he wants, And I feel not quite sure how to give it. And it's kind of sad. It makes me feel like I'm going to feel guilty when eventually, the worst happens. Can you discuss our third and fourth slots a bit? Which is the blind spot behind the driver, third or fourth? Neither. Third slot function is selfish. It tends to express itself one directional. So, most of my FE will be trying to shape your perceptions of me and get information about your perceptions of me. Much less of my FE is directed towards giving you information about my perceptions about you. So I'm much less likely to say, hey, you're really smart and I really appreciate what you... I mean, I've gotten a little bit better at that. At acknowledging and giving credit where credit's due, acknowledging other people's stuff and giving them information that I would like to have, if I were in their boat or whatever. But it's still going to be the majority of the FE. It goes the other direction. It's like my dad with his NE. He likes to talk. Other people are there to listen, and he doesn't necessarily engage a lot with what they say. He just has his thing he wants to say. Of course, that may have something to do with his failing hearing as well. It makes it challenging for him to have conversations because a lot of times he doesn't hear everything, even if I make a big effort to articulate clearly. And then he doesn't really want to acknowledge that he didn't hear it, stuff like that. Well, fourth law SE manifests in this one way. It manifests is like this. Basically, anytime I want to go run an errand or need to go run an errand, and I say, Rachel, you want to go with me? She's like, yeah, I do. You know, she's excited to go somewhere and do something. For me, that often feels like a hassle to go somewhere and do something if it's an errand of some sort. But Rachel enjoys getting out of the house. Um, to the extent that I provide things like, you know, or being with me provides things like going to Washington State to visit Hambone and stuff, that is something that I think she values a lot, you know. But what the good news is, I'd like to think that I do enough, you know. We make videos together periodically. She really likes to do that, and that's a doing thing. I mean, I get the sense that she finds a sort of raw satisfaction in doing, since we don't do a whole hell of a lot. She likes to take walks occasionally, or go on a bike ride or something like that, when she's in the mood. But I think what she enjoys most of all is when she really enjoyed making that music video together and having me include her in the song. And, you know, for her, it's like, she likes it when I talk about us doing something, and then we actually end up doing it. Because for every 5 things I mention as an idea, we only end up doing one of them, you know. But I think she values the opportunity to, yeah, I mean, it's like she knows she'd like to create in general. She knew that when she came into this relationship. She had a channel. She was sort of, she'd put stuff up, she'd take it down, she'd blah, 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 blah. INFJ shit. So, being with an ENTP, it allows her to do a lot more. She's live streams all the time now, because all she has to do is piggyback on my SE. And she participates in music videos and other things like that. No, I don't really do that stuff with her. And she's pretty comfortable doing that stuff by herself, too. So another way that her SE will play out when it doesn't involve me is she'll say, I'm going to take an Uber to, well, like Rite Aid. Because of COVID, it's like, well, what's open? You know, the pharmacy. And go, like, get some nail polish or some jewelry or something. So she does go and do that kind of stuff. I've already indicated to her that I don't like to go shopping, especially for girl stuff, because it's like, just pick one already. It doesn't matter which of those things you get. That's my historical experience of going shopping with girls. It's like, okay, you are taking way too long to pick which one of those things you want. Just, it doesn't fucking matter. Just pick one. You know? Why does it have to be? I have to spend so much time, oh, this one, or that one, or both of them, or just fucking, just get one and let's go. It's like, it shouldn't be that difficult to buy a shirt, you know? If you need a shirt, buy a shirt. If you need some shoes, let's buy some shoes. Fine, but, you know, like, don't sit there and, like, look at every pair of shoes and see which one's best or whatever. Who cares? They're just shoes. Just as long as they fit and they're comfortable, that's all you need to know. I spent wasted such a lot of energy trying to get my daughter to not have any regard for girl stuff. It did not stick at all. I tried to explain to her how all, like, you know, makeup was dumb and she shouldn't wear it, and clothes didn't matter, and, you know, when she's a little girl, I just put her in whatever, sweatpants and a t-shirt or whatever. It didn't stick. It didn't stick at all. She's totally into girly shit now. She's into makeup, she's into clothes. That's like, what? But I explained it all to you, Delilah, when you were little. That stuff's just how businesses exploit Exploit women and sell them useless crap for that they spend all this money on. How many, like my ESFJ ex-wife, you don't need that many. You do not need that many candles. You don't need that many shampoos. You certainly don't need that many pairs of shoes. You don't need that many sweaters. Like, you have like 50 sweaters. How could you possibly need that many sweaters? It's like, you wear a different sweater every day of the year. You need to wear a sweater around here. Why? What? You know? Yeah, right. Now, I didn't mind her shampoo fetish as much as the other ones because she got some really interesting smelling shampoos. I was always impressed with how much the shampoo smelled like the flavor it said it was. Like, if it said, like, pineapple cantaloupe or whatever, it would smell exactly like pineapple and cantaloupe. I'd be like, trip the fuck out. This just totally smells like that. So I kind of enjoyed the mini shampoos and their various smells. I like to choose my fruit and vegetable smell. Because usually it's a combination of a fruit and a vegetable. It's like cucumber and guava. Or like sage and kumquat. Sage and kumquat. That would be it. I don't remember that one specifically, but I don't remember any kumquat flavored shampoos. They used melon a lot. I mean, the thing is, I don't mind a girl spending all the time she wants in a store looking at her stupid shit that she wants to buy. I just don't want to be in there with her. You know? I'll stay home and pull bung rips. You go spend as much time as you want looking at shoes and purses and other crap like that, you know? I hate those kind of stores. I just want to get out of them as soon as I get in them. What does fifth slot SE tend to look like? Well, it's a... first of all, I would say it's a sense that that's where fun lives, is SE. So SI DOMs think that fun looks like SE. It looks like doing stuff, and what that stuff you do looks like depends on whether it's ISFJ or ISTJ. ISTJs tend to like, riding bikes and other kind of basic SE stuff, doing little jumps and working on shit out in the garage and so forth, right? But ISFJs are gonna like going to the beer festival and going to this thing and going to that thing. Oh my gosh, we went to the fair yesterday. It was so fun. Whereas in contrast, what I'm going to tend to find fun is NI. I find fun collapsing assorted ideas into singular ideational blocks, I guess you'd say, that are resonant universally and help us to process reality more effectively. What does ninth slot GI tend to look like? Excellent question. If you've got your gastrointestinal tract in your ninth slot cloud, well, that explains why you're always constipated. Yeah, I suspect it is. I think it's not just that you find it fun, but you think that it's satisfying. That when you're engaged in that kind of attentional manner, or something that validates according to that attentional manner, then you're going to find it satisfying. As though it's basically the same, for the same reason that you see it as a respect metric for others is why you're going to find it valuable. In other words, you assume for everybody, probably including yourself, that when you're doing things right, you're fifth slotting. Okay? Of course, depending on how you understand what SE means, if you're an SI Dom, you may or may not agree with that statement. SI Doms are experiential knowers and will define themselves as they see fit. Anyway, so yeah, fifth slot SE I think is you're validating on people who, it's like who's not going to be very respected by a ISTJ or ISFJ. INFPs and INTPs with their polar SE are not going to be very well respected because, especially ISFJ regarding INTP is going to think you're so smart with your TI and yet you refuse to do the basic legwork that's required to maximize your potential. And with ISTJ, it's going to be like, right, INFP sort of, you know what you want, so why do you refuse to go get it? Fifth slot function is something you ignore, which is to say, when a circumstance would be best met with that, it probably won't occur to you to use that function. So, and the reason for that is because while you are attending all the time, like, as an extroverted intuitor, I'm attending to how I can possibly make this work, so to speak. So, like, there was a time when Rachel and I were fishing, and she kept casting it into the tree. I kept thinking, well, here's some ways we can work around this problem and so forth. And she just said, well, we should move. And I fought it for a little while, and eventually said, yeah, you're right, we should move. So that's an example of me ignoring my fifth function. Now, note that it doesn't mean that's not contradictory at all to what I was saying. So it's true that I validate basic competency with NI. I use that to validate others. It's also true that I find stuff where NI is has an active role in the conversation. I like those conversations more. That I don't tend to talk about experiential stuff very much. That I don't tend to talk about what I like or don't like. It's rather what's right or wrong, So yeah, it's true that you ignore it when circumstances would call upon you, presumably to use it to good effect in a given situation because of the nature of the situation. You're likely to forget to call upon it. But that doesn't mean that you don't tend to gravitate towards circumstances in which that function is well utilized or manifest. Fourth slot, look, the thing is, your fourth slot function is what you'd like to have somebody try tailing along. No. You are naturally inclined to it. So the thing to remember is this. If you were SEing in the dominant slot, you have SI in the back slot, which means, in the fifth slot, which means that you understand that to follow through on a decision requires that you keep track of decisions that you've made. You understand that to execute a given action, such as hiking up to the top of a hill, requires that you have some ability to validate on SI grounds. That is to say that you have some awareness of whether or not it's too far for you, whether you're going to be able to make it or not, that kind of thing, right? Now, it's also the case that when you're on that hike, you're probably not going to be feeling the SI very much. You're going to be ignoring it if you're an SE Dom, which is why you'll probably be able to complete it better than somebody who's paying a lot of attention to their SI. for example. But it's also the case that if you're an SI Dom, you're likely to complete it because you have very good attention to your body and how much energy you have and stuff, and you probably wouldn't have undertaken something that you couldn't complete. So you can see how the ignoring function both is ignored and valued because of where it sits in the fifth slot. Fourth slot's very different. Very different. Because fourth slot, unlike fifth slot, you're not good at it inherently. I'm inherently good at NI, which is to say, I can collapse complicated ideas down into straightforward expressions of them. And more importantly, I can focus on what's the singular determinant factor. I don't necessarily ideate further and deviate from that. That's what makes any in the dominant slot more effective than any in the tool function. Because, of course, we're able to know when not to use it. Fourth slot function is one where we'd like to have another person trailing behind us doing that for us, ideally. So, for me, I would love to have a staff of people that, or even just one person, who's devoted towards, it probably require more than one, but who's devoted towards gathering all of this shit I've already made and sort of compiling it into folders and stuff and reminding me of projects that I've begun and making lists of those sort of things and archiving all my half-finished works and stuff for me. That would be hugely beneficial to me. It's necessarily the case that I am going to seek somebody or seek that fulfillment of archiving my ideas because I'm spending all my time ideating. I'm not spending my time archiving. That's what it means to have dominant NE and fourth slot SI. If it were the other way around, I'd be spending all my time archiving and reviewing my resources and making sure that that's that which is familiar and predictable remains so to speak, so that I'm not obviously generating a whole lot of new ideas. That's what it is to say that they're, to some extent, inversely proportional, but more correctly, they are. One is so predominantly the frame, and the other is so predominantly in service of that frame that that the one is always subordinate to the other. And what that means in terms of extroverted intuition in the dominant slot is that I use my introverted sensing to keep track of sort of factoids and other little bits of information that I can weave narratives out of, and without being, I have to keep track of it or else I'll be inconsistent with what I've said previously, and my tool function is such that to the extent that I don't maintain sufficient memory of what I've said before, what my positions are before, then I wouldn't be able to use my tool function effectively, and obviously that's not a way that anybody's going to strategize their life. So as a consequence, I have my SI in service of my NE in that way. Hi, Lijo. Yes, we've already discussed the problem here, but it's been quite a while since I've discussed this. I think I will reiterate the fundamental issue here and why we are currently spending our energy condemning Katy Perry for her immoral action. It's because she knew when she had sexual intercourse with Legolas that at least there was a chance she'd be impregnated with a non-reproductively viable offspring. Because of course, elves and humans are different species. So if you breed them together, the best you're going to come up with is a mule or a liger, right? That's not fair to the kid, who may or may not want to have offspring, and you've created a child that has no chance of ever giving birth to anything. Additionally, they're going to have to deal with the fact that their ears are pointier than a normal human's. It's not as pointy as an elf's ears, obviously, but too pointy still. Excessive point to the ear is, can cause a lot of problems in life. You can, there's no federal law prohibiting discrimination on the grounds of ear pointiness. Why not? Well, because the federal government generally encourages people to discriminate against elves and half-elves. So, you're dooming your kid to this. Why she? It's like there's so many humans out there. She had to go out with Legolas. I guess she was impressed by his arrow shooting performance. That's how you get a lot of chicks in life, really. A lot of chicks will land in your lap if you have a good arrow shooting performance. No. No, Zaylen Black. Ear pointiness is not sexy. I think what you meant to say was ear pointlessness. You need to have pointless ears. Then you can really wet in some panties, let me tell you. The rounder the ear, the sounder the rear. That's what they say. That's the old saying, Is Katy Perry an INFP? Perhaps she has that look about her, like she wears fairy lights under her petticoats. She dresses as a hamburger. I think she's an ENFP. Or possibly, what else could she be? I mean, she could be possibly an NFJ of some sort. I don't know. She could be an ISFJ, maybe even. I don't know. Proper doesn't really rhyme with doper, Skager. Round those ears, then pound them rears. That's the saying, okay? There is no acceptable world in which ear pointiness is the key to sexual attractability. Helen Keller was killing it with her pointless ears. Right. Different kind of pointless ears, Joe, actually. That's a little bit of a different meaning of pointless. Rounded is the synonym we're looking for here. Rounded ears means pound those rears. Okay, so if you want to just bend lady after lady over and pound her in the rear, well, the solution for you is to round your ears. If you don't want to do that, then leave them pointy. It's fine. The problem with elves also is they're immortal, right? So, okay. If you get with an elf, you should know it's not going to be a good long-term relationship. Orlando Bloom's going to stay the same age while Katy Perry gets older and older and older. It's a recipe for a depressing tragedy, right? The difference between being a Chad and an incel is just a few degrees of ear roundness. Well said, Oliver. Well said. Look at that. Look at that roundedness. That's great. I'd be full Chad if this ear would just go like this. Round off right here. Instead, I've got a little bit of pointiness down here called an ear lobe. It's an unnecessary part of the ear that unfortunately adds to an ear's pointiness. That's why I'm only, B-list puss slayer. Which is to say either a slayer is not very good at it, or as in my case, a relationship person. Hey, Elijah, do you know who Flat Stanley is? He was asking about you. He said he heard you had a very flat vagina and he wanted to. He thought that would make you two compatible. Extremely flat vagina. Well, Elijah, he's a storybook character from 1964's children's storybook Flat Stanley. Okay. Doper Poper. You could say loper. One who lopes, Well, they should rhyme, but they don't. Proper and doper should rhyme as per the spelling, but They don't. They don't matter. 2:37 a.m. on TWFP. What are we doing, y'all? So, yeah, what are we doing? I don't know. Let's ask Rick. Rick, what are we doing? Can you tell us? Y'all, you're being a bunch of intuitards hanging around on the internet. Look, hey, intuitards, get off of your computers and go outside, alright? Look at this beautiful ocean. This is where I am. This is where I live stream from. The ocean. Constantly changing. I'm whizzing around. Okay? What's wrong with you? Well, you are two tards who sit in front of your computers. Computing. With your fingers. Ladies, Lijo, hey, are you signing up for Rick Benson's Bone Symposium? I'm holding the Bone Symposium in October. Send nudes. I'm a bone coach. World's greatest bone coach 3 years running, according to the Bone Coach Association Bone Coach of the Year Award. In my Bone Symposium, Lijo, you're going to learn how to bone, how to poke, how to slay, how to poke, and how to bone. I'll be doing the boning, you'll be doing the receiving of the bone. Oliver Linehan. I tell you what, if I need an assistant coach, would you like me to bring you on as an apprentice bone coach? I think maybe, you could show Zaylen Black a few things about the bone. Right. Yeah, I'm an ESTP. My name's Rick Benson. I'm Bone Coach of the Year, and I'm hosting a Bone Symposium this October. There is an application process, ladies. Please send nudes. Alright? No, you won't be kidnapped, no. You'll be too smitten with the bone. Somebody's gonna have to kidnap you to get you to leave. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. Rick Benson, delivering the bone. Okay? Rick Benson, will you stop advertising your Bone Symposium on my channel? I don't support that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear Dave Matthews is playing the Bone Symposium. I think, what I really believe is, Dave Matthews is hoping Rick Benson is going to invite him to be an assistant coach at the Bone Symposium. But I know Rick Benson. He doesn't even like Dave Matthews Band. He just said, well, a lot of ladies like that, so he brought him over, I guess. Bill Walton is there, of course. But Rick Benson hates Bill Walton. ESTPs are too smart to like Bill Walton. Hey, Zaylen Block, listen, you know what your bird hates? The bird hates that you haven't purchased your tickets yet for the Bone Symposium. Okay? Okay. It's the yawning hour, when everybody has to yawn. And then we'll all feel better after that. If you feel sad right now because of sorrow, sadness, or unhappiness, or anything like that, hey, it's going to be okay. Host Eric's here, reassuring you with a reassuring pat. That's a very reassuring pat, isn't it? You feel extremely reassured by that reassuring pat? That's why they call me Reassuring Pat. Provider of reassuring pats. Well, friends, I hate to impose, but I hope you'll indulge me while I play a song on the guitar. I really find it gratifying if you would offer me said indulgence. If you brought an indulging bone, go ahead and take it out now. We're going to be using it shortly. play this song first. Probably turn this down a bit. Maybe turn it down a bit more. 30,000 days, too many expectations, not even worth a damn. 30,000 nights to sleep off the intoxication, otherwise you're born to escape the plan. I wasted half my days trying another's way. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I'm tired of doing it wrong. Want direction and I have all along. Wait until I know, or if that hesitation, clarity's no good once your chance is gone. What I need to show is it's so below my station. I'm tired of doing it wrong. I wasted half my days trying another way. Who can tell me my minorities? Is there anybody who knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, I think I'm doing it wrong. 'Cause I think I'm doing it wrong. Well, that song was called 30,000 Days, and it's about how long you have in your life to live. If you live to your early 80s, you've got about 30,000 days to live. Which isn't too bad, really, if you think about it. Could be worse, right? You're living on a time frame I will never know. Alienation and humanity's soul. Imagine you a future after the collapse, returning to the urgency of isolated past. You're picturing community, free of metaphysics, haunting buffalo while you're picking red delicious. Knowledge of the seasons, wisdoms of old, fires blazing in the night to keep away the colds. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way of life as children of the land, with an agave weatherman. Imagining a history that never could have been. You lecture at the college, advancement is a sin. Lamenting disconnection and every corporate act, asserting all your feelings and ignoring all the facts. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way of life as children of the land, with an agave weatherman. You find maternity just so banal. Wish you had been born any time but now. Your experience won't run afoul of exceptions you might allow. civilized nobility, sipping on some port. We're tribes of peaceful savages in beautiful comport. But few of history's people ever thusly did comport. 'Cause life was solitary, nasty, brutish, poor, and short. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay by what you think is in the way. What you think is in the way of life as children of the land. With an agave weatherman. With an agave weatherman. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Let's see. Here's another song. No good comes from skating on with them whom you mistaken for the one. Habituated defense and indecency, self-inflicts eventually once your work is done. Driving in the car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. And when both that's done, I screamed something awfully blunt. The words as wrong as they were dumb. I've earned my share of shame. It's each of our own failings, not us doing the nailing to the wall. Heard of the other failing off to accept their life and all. You can trust me, I can trust you, though neither trust ourselves much true. The love that is between you and me, at least about that we can both agree. Driving in the car last night, we had a massive fight. Each insisting we were right and the other one to blame. So when all that's done, I screamed something awfully blunt. My words as wrong as they were dumb. I've earned my share of shame. My share of shame. It's still too hot? Might be a little bit too hot still. Bring that down a bit. Okay. What's next on our wonderful tour of songs and delights? I'd like to play this one. Let's play this one. What's the matter with Chad? Is he terribly bad? Is he rather like Dan? He's a terrible man. Is he sort of like Jill, who won't pay her bill? Or kind of like Jack, who's stuck on the facts? What's the matter with Drew? Wish you know what to do. If they bring attitude, will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking. I need my glasses. This is too small to see. Oh, Eric. Your old eyes are letting you down. There, that's a lot better. Now I can read it. Wonderful. Okay, I'll start over and I'll read it this time correctly. What's the matter with Chad? Is he terribly bad? Is he very like Dan, who's a terrible man? Is he sort of like Jill, who can't pay her bill? Or rather like Jack, who's stuck on a fact? Matter with Sue? Will she know what to do? If they bring attitude, will she show ingenuity? about you whenever we go walking. What's the matter with Bryn? She's been living in sin. She's been hanging with Jim, who's looking terribly thin. What's the deal with Frank? Stealing fish from my tank, colluding with you, and they're talking to Lou. What's wrong with the ladies? What's the matter with men? From the feelings of Katy to the coldness of Sven. And they talk about you whenever we go walking on paths that lead to lesser days. I still spell out the overwatered path, and whoever's left that's still okay, just try to sail to the mast. Are you angry at Ken or at Neville again? Don't bother with Kev, he's practically dead. Just focus on Bert, he's medium hurt. What's the quantity for Liz? Did she fail a quiz? What's the matter with Drew? Will she know what to do? If they bring attitude, will she show ingenuity? She talks about you whenever we go walking, paths that lead to lesser days, paths that lead to lesser days. Spill still out the overwatered paths. Still okay, just tie the sails to the mast. 'Cause each of us have much and gravely sinned. Throw up the hands, stiffen the chin. Catastrophe looms heavy overhead again. Time's gone will never be again. That was pretty good. I didn't blow it too badly. Next I want to play this song over here. I'm running through my set more or less. I'm trying to get a set of songs I'm pretty damn happy with, actually. If Jesus was people but absent of sin, he must then have struggled with regular men and women, of course, when they too were present. Disciples all warily eyeing the lesson. If people were Jesus, they'd know what they think, and everyone's work would be true, and feelings once spoken would sit where they sing, and we don't know just what to do. People are Jesus once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Does virtue require a rational take, or virtue that's reasoned invariably fake? Does musing itself just distract from the flow, or is care better served by deliberate and slow? People are Jesus once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. Yeah, maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. No one you thought you knew like you never have met. The life you made for two has faded to regret. There's no one unshaken, we all have been shook. But being forsaken don't mean you're forsook. Though in the past you've been hung out to dry, find them at last if we're willing to try. But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. Yeah, maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay terrible cost. The song's not particularly well practiced, you know. Well, neither is your mom's face, you might say. Well, that's true. My mom's face is not especially well practiced, but it's more well practiced than your mom's face, that's for sure. I think we can all agree on that. And if we can't, then you're not trying hard enough to agree. So I'm going to tune the guitar now. You can tune a fish, but you can't tune a guitar, is what they say. Or the other way around. Tuner. Okay, well, that was an exciting guitar tuning experience for all of us. I'm going to play another song or two, though, before I put down the guitar. Why? Well, I just feel like guitaring. So I think I'm going to play now, this song here. Too much noise in the data stream. Here we go. Too much noise. Too much noise in the data stream. Loud enough to disrupt everybody's shuns me. Mistakes are made until it seems everybody's just throwing shade. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be jam for yesterday. Not the sort of thing that one can borrow. No, really to lend a day. Your uncertainties are the set, just like an unexpected visit from a bunch of men all dressed in blue suits. I won't be just another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. Hard song to play. Challenging. Scorpion Scat, I don't know how to play that one. Multitude of Scorpions is called The Pride of Scorpions. I know that part, but yeah, Multitude of Scorpions is called Pride of Scorpions. Let's see here. You come outside, your arms are folded. I'm getting scolded for playing again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. I gotta do what I gotta do. I'll include you in everything that I can. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You're the one I will be with till my dying day. I want your belief, you want my attention. I've got invention playing again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. But Kimberly, please don't be mad at me, though I made this song. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean the woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. Trucker's Woes, huh? Well, you requested one I can play, so since you were kind enough to know the song and requested, I will play it for you. I come from New York City down to Florida, I come from old Chicago, California way. I never left a place I love, 'cause I was out of dough. In a one-house step from Utah and 2 miles to Idaho. So when you ask me, darling, do I have a trucker's woes? Well, I got to tell you, baby, from my head down to my toes. Da-da-da. when you ask me, darling, do I have a trucker's blues? Well, I got to tell you, baby, from my head down to my toes. I drive all night and I drive all day to be home by the end of the week. And I got to tell you, baby, things are looking mighty bleak. Yes, things are looking mighty bleak. It's true, so true. So true indeed. As bleak as they can possibly look. That's how bleak they look today. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when he hired that firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to get back to the work left rough. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and the plans that interrupt was the work that started off so hopefully. But now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing factless to listless. So how all the people will shout his name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't he'll see you and know you warm inside your heart. Exciting, delighting, Gerald plays his part. And Gerald still knew too much to do, and he had put time in the underview. Too much to rebut, so where now and what? And too much time spent nitpicking the skew with you. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business, thinking now about what he'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. It's a good one. It's a winner. It's a winner in the game of life. Yes, if you like life and you love living, you'll love The Life I Live by The Living Lives. Are you early? Ooh, rapping Eric, you're the only man in town. Ooh, rapping Eric, won't you come to my house? I said, ooh, rapping Eric, ooh, rapping Eric. Yo, 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 have you got all my trading cards? Because I've got Rappin' Eric trading cards. Ooh. Why? Because, ooh, I'm Rappin' Eric. That's why, obviously. I tell you what I am going to do right now, real quick, is I'm going to take a short intermission. And during this intermission, I'm going to play, in the background of this thing here, I'm going to play not Rapping Eric, 4 Cars.
You can't see me bobbing my head. You can't see me bobbing my head. I assure you I'm bobbing my head. Eric is playing the drums. You can't see me making rhymes. You can't see me drinking wine. 'Cause I ain't drinking wine. And this is simply a recordine. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer went downtown. A Santa Claus wondered where the hell he could be around. These funky beats I hear, they make me wanna get my beer out of the Jeep Wrangler that I drive out in the street over there.
Liz went outside and she counted those cars. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how many cars there were. That equals the total number of cars she was looking for. It equals 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Liz went outside and she counted those cars. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how many cars there were. That equals the total number of cars she was looking for. It equals 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Heaven outside and she counted herself some cars. She counted the wheels off and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no! She counted 16 wheels and all, which means there was 4 cars. 'Cause she had no 3-wheel cars and no 5-wheel cars and no 2-wheel cars and no 1-wheel cars.
How many cars in the parking lot? I don't know.
There was 4 cars.
I don't know.
There was 4 cars.
1,
4,
3.
4,
Yeah.
4.
How many?
4 cars! Those motherfucking 4 cars!
A motherfucking 4 cars. How many cars?
3 plus 1 means 4
Yeah.
cars! Yeah, there was 4 cars! No, 10 cars! There was only 4 cars!
I don't need any more cars. I got enough, 'cause I'm a rock star and I got the stuff. Go down to the dealership, I said to take them all. I got 4 cars, but I need a little bit more. He said, take them out the door. I'll leave your credit card and more. How many cars? More than 4.
Cars! Yeah, there was 4 cars! She went out and I kept 4 cars! No, 5 cars, not 6.
But now I'm broke.
His motherfucking Christmas name, Christmas motherfucking Christmas name. His name is Rudolph the motherfucking Christmas reindeer. Praises be his name.
I am the ghost of Christmas, your mama. I am the ghost of Christmas. I am the ghost of Christmas, your
A multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. A pride of scorpions, a pride of scorpions, a pride of a multitude of scorpions is called the sky of a multitude of boy my mama. Multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. What a multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. The pride of scorpion what?
A multitude of scorpions called a pride of scorpion.
Les scorpions sont sur les plages. Les scorpions sont en autobus.
A multitude. A pride of scorpions, a pride of scorpions, a pride of scorpions, a pride of what? A pride of scorpions, a pride of scorpions, a pride of what? A pride of scorpions, a scorpion. Guardian angel, teach me about scorpions. I've heard enough about your red beret today. Meet meeting you on the subway was kinda weird. You talked about red berets and multitudes of scorpions. He turned to me and he said, son, look here, I'm a guardian angel. And I said, yo, my guardian angel? No, not like that. It's a vigilante organization. We wear red berets and white t-shirts that say guardian angels like this one right here. And then he told me about how when you have 4 or more scorpions, you call it a pride of scorpions. Even if you have a googleplex of scorpions, it's even called a pride of scorpions. But they're more proud, and that's why he's a guardian angel. At least that's the logic he used with me. And he says, a multitude of scorpions is called a pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called the pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called the pride. A multitude of scorpions is called a pride of scorpions. A multitude of scorpions is called a pride of scorpions. A multitude of
graceful children live for living. Take your seconds, we'll pour. And just say when, just say when, just say when, just say when. And now run, jump, have a fall, look and see who's the winner. Unmistakable, make believe makes it better. Thump, thump in the cavity in between you and the devil. Graceful children, hasteful for growing. And time for to come in once more. Maybe then, maybe then, maybe then, maybe then. And I run, jump, have a fall, look and see who's the winner. Unmistakable, make believe makes it better. Thump, thump in the cavity in between you and the devil. No need to be hasteful. You've got no time to waste though. No need to be hasteful. Got no time to waste though. No need to be hasteful. Got no time to waste though. So jump in, jump in. Graceful children, fearful of nothing. Take your mission, live for ever then, ever then, ever then, ever then. And
1, 2, 3, 4.
Lady, 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 my lady, lady, my lady, lady, my lady, are you my lady? Are you my lady? Baby, 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 my baby, baby, my baby. Well, baby, my baby, are you my baby? Are you my baby?
I say, whoa. I say, yeah. Yeah. I say, whoa. I say, yeah.
Chase me and I'll run away. Go find someplace else to stay. Now it's time to go.
Now go,
Lady, baby, lady, baby, lady, baby, my lady, lady, my baby. Oh, baby, lady, your sweetness and gravy are making me lazy. Oh, well, I take some people, put them in a line, and then I pick my bass up, play this funky line, and then their butts start shaking, moving to the time, because this is a purely funkified bass line. So then I pick my bass up, move it to the street, and then I play this tune to everyone I meet, and then their heads start shaking, moving all around, because they have no defense to this funky sound. And then I played this funky line for almost 4 days straight. It seems that everyone who hears it thinks it's great. And then I played this funky line for almost 4 days straight. It seems that everyone who hears it thinks it's great. When I awoke from sleeping, couldn't waste no time, so then I picked my bass up, played this funky line, and then I went up hiking, played it to the trees, and then they started growing roots out of their leaves, because they wanted to get closer to this sound. It seems both trees and people feel this funky sound. Then all the forest creatures formed up in a line, and all their butts were shaking, moving to the time. And then I played this funky line for almost 4 days straight. It seems that everything that hears it thinks it's great. .10 and I'm by the sink. I'm just waiting for the phone to ring. The conversation's bad, but I don't mind. Stuff like this happens to me all the time.
Oh, Don Knotts, right? We had him in studio. He sang his song about corporate America performance reviews.
I don't know if everybody's heard this, but this is Don Knotts. He did he was like 67 years old.
Television's Don Knotts, right?
Yeah, and I guess they did some kind of demographic survey for him, his publicist or whatever. But his demographic, it would be good for him to come out with that hip hop album, like Don Knotts rap, right? But he hooked up with this producer,
right?
That is a blues guy. He's a blues guy, but he claimed that he was he wasn't even a very successful blues guy.
Who is this blues guy? Do you remember his name?
Like Thunderbolt Screaming Jazz Phone.
Thunderbolt Screaming Jazz Phone. What an odd name.
Jack Tripper, Janet, Cindy, we're all hanging out at the Regal Bagel. Got some feedback for you. Performance reviews. I got some salty moisture. I've got performance reviews. I got some feedback for you. I'll put it in the performance review. Come meet in my office. I'll give you the review. You take a piece of paper, you sign it, and you give it to me. I'll make a copy. I'll give it to HR. I'll come back. I'll give you a copy that I get to them, and I get to you, and we get to us. A baby, a chew. I'm Don on TV's Don Knotts.
Organ store where they are playing the organ out on that floor, showing everyone how easy it is. You push this button and it plays it for you. Oh, that's not really playing the organ, is it? You're just pushing that button right there. I don't feel responsible for having made this art. I mean, how could I really add an organ? But all I did was push the button label start.
Hello, and welcome to Pop Goes Lethal.
Hi.
Podcast number 2.
Deuce.
It's the second in a series of indeterminate length.
I think we're going to try to do these daily, though, right?
Yeah, we're going to try to. I mean, we got plenty of, as they say, media files.
Content.
Yeah, content.
And
all of it's A++++++++ grade eBay.
great content great content or shipping immediately.
You got instant shipping. Okay, this first thing we're gonna play here is it's a file that's it was made by people of indeterminate name,
Similar to you and me.
and you know it could be made. What we're gonna play?
How about we do $10 flowers?
Okay, we're gonna do $10 flowers first.
$10 flowers. This is an extreme enthusiast. That's
But if you slow it down, you realize
Flowers from the $10 flower store. So we're gonna go to Laura Bush. She loves $10 flowers. She loves $10. She loves $10. She loves $10 flowers. She loves $10. She loves $10. She loves $10 flowers. She loves $10. She loves $10. She loves $10 flowers. She loves $10. She loves $10. She loves $10 flowers. Ooh, Mr. Terrell, thank you for the $10 flowers that you got me from the $10 flower store. Thank you for the $10 flowers that you got me from the $10 flower store. I love my flowers. I love them. They're pretty. I love them. I love them because it's $10. I love them. $10 flower store. Ooh, make my coochie wet. What she wants. What she wants. What she wants.
Us to provide some local access content, which we meeting with Charter Communications.
they like to listen to Negro Spiritual.
Digital Dan or it's hard to say.
Spiritual art form, and we're gonna go ahead and now I don't have the background or the training to do a Negro spiritual, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Okay, this one's called what's this one called again? All right, here we go then. Stick it out with Negro spirituals to the end.
Yeah, I like that movie called Strong.
Grew up inside of a great big can. And a big ass nose, and you like to have sex with the big ass hose. I said, digital Dan, presses all the critics. Digital Dan.
I spend all my hours at coding, ignoring this sense of foreboding, and also this moist dirty coating that's settled all over my skin. It feels like death is upon us, just like it was a pawn shop. And I had sold all of my shit there and spent all the money long since. I once had a life and a mansion, or at least a house in this place, where I lived with daughter and family, and I put those things in my face. I worried then and I worry now. I worried when I would worry how. I felt about things that were not beyond me, and felt about wondering too. I thought if I could I would come back. I'd come back before I had left. I wouldn't have left in the first place. I didn't, I haven't, I won't. And I'll be here for forever for sure. I'll be here with you, darling. I'll stay here until you're older than me. You're older than all of the times that would be. If I had never left you to begin with, darling. I never did, I never would, I never will. You were born in October, or near enough to that at least, 'cause it was the end of September, and it was the end of the feast. The feast so debauched and so pointless, the feast of my bachelorhood, which stretched on through 2 of my marriages, yeah, and saw me. I can't recall the time before your birth and your arrival. I can't recall the time before. I never knew a time could be as definitively expensive and reductive to turning me into you. I am all about you, dear, and you are all I need. As long as I have everything, I'll be everyone you see, and everything that you have known, and everything that I will know, are all contained within you, dear. It's clear enough to me for sure.
Okay, so yeah, pretty depressing song, really. But it was a freestyle. That was all made up on the fly in a moment of inspiration or whatever, which is weird, because it seems so put together. It's a little bit long, in my opinion, but I'm not sure what I'd cut out of it. The whole narrative's complete. Actually, if you listen to the whole thing and like follow through, it's a weirdly complete little narrative. One of those things that I found very moving. You know, I had trouble listening to it for a while. But that moment in my life has passed, and whatever fears I had about my own sustainability and you know, it's like they proved somewhat overblown, I guess, or if not overblown, then unrealized, regardless. And as a consequence, I think, you know, the takeaway from it is, you know, that everything worked out fine. So I was all grown up now, and I'm still alive. And not only am I still alive, but I feel like I'm better than ever, you know? At that time when I made that, I was concerned about my ability to parent adequately because of my meth habit, my meth addiction at that point, which was a pretty full blast, and my ability to stay alive long term because of it. Now I feel like an entirely different understanding of the world. It's like, that's lifetimes ago when my child was little. You know, it's like I've had several lives, you know. It's like I had my life before college. I had my life in college. I had my life after college when I was still single. I had my brief life with my first wife in Temple City. I had my life with my second wife in Temple City and raising the kid. I had my life with Kimberly and Laverne, and now I'm having my life here with Rachel. That's basically the totality of all my lives, you know. But I've already completely had and finished the have a family and raise a kid thing, right? It's trippy to think that you've done that. You completed that. Wait a second. I thought that was like, you know, because when you're a kid, you never think to yourself, well, what happens after you're done raising your kid? You just think that that's as far as you can go ahead into adulthood to think about stuff, you know? Which life is this for me then? Let me count them again. There's pre-college, college, post-college but single, first wife Temple City, second wife Temple City, you know, it's fair to say actually there's another single period that eventually leads all the way up to time with Kimberly and Laverne, and then here. So eight distinct periods in my life, as far as I'm concerned, in my eight distinct lives. You know, in the single period, when I was single between Candace and getting my first long-term serious relationship after Candace, which was Kimberly, here you go, Zaylin. Link whichever you want to link. It's fine. I'll take it away when you're done linking stuff. Just because, you know, it's like moderator status is a fussiness causing thing. Okay. Well, Angantir, you never had a real girlfriend. How old are you, Angantir, if you don't mind my asking? Cool. I mean, are you in your 40s? Are you in your 30s? Are you in your 20s? Give me some sort of additional information, demographic information that will help me to understand better. 34. Okay. Well, I would point out the following thing in general as a thing that might apply, which is I didn't figure out how to begin living, I guess, joyfully until I was 42. I didn't begin to really do that. Prior to that, I was just hanging on. Just hanging on. Always hanging on. Well, look, I had my first girlfriend when I was 18, my first real girlfriend, and then I didn't have one from age 20 until 26 or 20 or so, 26 maybe 27 even. And for most of that time, didn't have really any contact with women. So the thing about this is, I guess a lot of people, what they're looking for is a meaningful long-term relationship. And you paid for it with dignity, Angantier, like all of us. Here's my dignity. So the thing is, I understand that sense that of an important matter to be attended to before you can really move on, and that may be finding a long-term relationship or coming to terms with that area of thing in general. It's certainly possible to say, okay, well, I'm going to retire my attentions on that and focus on this. But if you're SE polar, then it's a little bit more challenging to make a decision to do in some other areas, so that deliberating and ideating and knowing in this other area won't occur is asking a person to be kind of contrary to their nature, you know. I guess I'm gonna wrap this up now. I'm tired, and also I don't know, I want to maybe start editing this video, the very song I was working on earlier. I feel like I'm not being very productive right now. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks a lot for being here, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you. It's critical to my own sense of correctness, well-being, and the universe being lined up right that I live stream frequently and check in with my friends, you know. So I appreciate you being here. Talk to you later. Hanging tier. Everything's gonna be alright. Alright? We'll talk more next time. Here on Talking with Famous People, the internet's most dramatic television program.